hire this guy that comes in, and the big thing with all of this is that his record against the SEC, 53-27, an SEC title, 2 Western Division titles, 3-5 against Nick Saban. Wrap your head around that for a second. He was 3-5 against Nick Saban. And here's the best part about this. He doesn't have to play in that division anymore. Now, there are going to be people that are going to say things to you like his program failed to develop a quarterback going back to Nick Marshall, who last played at Auburn in 2014. So, yeah, there's that. But you also have the fact that he was 26 games over 500 in SEC play. I mean, stunned. Now, here's the other interesting thing about that. People are saying all of this stuff about, oh, wow, Tennessee struck out on this. And in a way that they did. And I'll explain to you why. If they wanted a coach that had SEC experience, that should have been their first call. You want the guy that's gone 3-5 against Nick Saban. You want that guy. The problem with Gus Malzahn was Auburn. Everyone wanted to constantly be in the mix of messing basically with the program. There was a lot of things you could read if you look online about Auburn boosters and all that trying to manipulate the program a little bit. Yeah. And what I mean by that is they want to have their say in it, okay? Here's the thing with all of that, though. You play in the SEC West, and it's hard. I've made my case against the SEC forever about, oh, you shouldn't talk about your SEC schedule. If you're in the SEC West, it's a tough schedule. It's a tough schedule, okay? Auburn has to play Georgia every year, and they get Alabama and LSU, as well as Texas A&M. That is a very tough schedule. They're not playing in the SEC East. They have that whole thing they have to go up against every year. So going 8-4 is a big deal if you have that kind of schedule. But Tennessee, the folks that are running around talking about they want to throw shade at Gus Malzahn, saying Auburn lost their offensive coordinators to UConn and Troy in recent years. How often do you see a Power 5 coordinator leave for a coordinator position at UConn or Troy? Well, that's because they were messing with him over there at Auburn. They wanted him to give up the play calling, and he's a guy that calls plays. So Auburn paid him $21 million to go away. So he's going to get his money. I get that. But you want to know something, though? You want to know why he didn't go to Tennessee? It's very simple. He wants to win a championship. And in his mind, it's going to be better. He has a better chance of winning a championship at UCF than he does at Tennessee. I'm sorry. That's just the way that it is. He plays at UCF, and they're going to get to a point where they have the availability most likely to get into the playoffs. If the playoffs expand, which is what they want to do, he's going to have a chance to run through the AAC, win championships there, and then get an opportunity to play in the college football playoff. And he has the resume from before where he can bring more recruits into there that are going to make UCF interesting. But let's step back for a second. Remember when UCF claimed they won a national title? Who was that at the expense of? Who was that at the expense of? Oh, it was Auburn in the Peach Bowl after the 2017 season when they beat that Auburn team there that Gus Malzahn was coaching. It's almost like the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon thing or whatever, where everything ties back to one or another. He thinks that winning a championship is easier at UCF than it is at Tennessee. Simple as that. Folks online upset, saying Fireball says Malzahn will never win a championship. That's why Auburn fired him. No, he had the opportunity to win championships. He won an SEC title. I mean, I guess that's hot garbage, right? That's hot dog water. That doesn't mean anything. He won the West twice. Won 3 games out of 8 against Nick Saban. All of that is garbage. No, Auburn's just one of the toughest jobs in the country, and they expect to beat Alabama every year. And when you only do it 3 out of 8 times, that's not good enough. Simple as that. If Coach Harsin, I believe that's his name down there now, doesn't get his stuff together quickly, he'll be gone in 3 years too. SEC Dog trying to mess with me on, he's watching on YouTube today. We appreciate him. Malzahn can try to claim a fake title at UCF. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about if they expand the college football playoffs, UCF could get into it. And I think with Malzahn and the way that he coaches, I think that they could shock some folks. And I'm not saying they're going to win, but in his mind, by what he's done here, he thinks that he can win a title. He's getting $21 million from Auburn. He's 55 years old. He can hang it up and never coach again. Never coach again. Sit on his $21 million and buy an 80-foot big screen television, and he can laugh at everybody else. No. Malzahn wants to win a championship. Just saying. That's the big thing there. And you know what? He turned down Arkansas in 2017. People seem to forget that. He turned down Arkansas. They wanted him big time there. And he said, you know what? I think I've got a better chance at Auburn. Right now, I think that, especially with the sanctions that are most likely coming for Tennessee, you have a better shot of being a more reputable program at UCF than you do with the Vols. 803-978-1832. 803-978-1832 is the number to call if you would like to join us here on The Rundown this afternoon, right here on Fox Sports Radio 1400, of course, around the world on the iHeartRadio app. As we roll along on a President's Day, there's like nobody in the station today. I could literally hold open my door and yell down the hall, and no one would hear me anyway. So I'd love to have your company today. You can watch the show on the Fox Sports Radio Facebook page, also on my YouTube page at Rob Sounds Good. Click the like button, please. Let people know you like the show. But I think that Malzahn going to UCF makes Tennessee look silly. Simple as that. 803-978-1832. 803-978-1832 is the number to call. If you'd like to join us here on The Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. We have other things we can get into today. If you don't want to talk about Gus Malzahn, hey, that's fine. We've also got some other stuff to get into today. Frank Martin was supposed to have a press conference today, but he postponed that. I don't know what's going on there. We'll see how what's going on with the South Carolina basketball program when we can. COVID has touched the Clemson program. They've got a player that I think the release said the Clemson program is dealing with COVID-19 issues on the team. Their game against Notre Dame on Wednesday has been postponed. Look for that game to not be made up. I don't think that's going to happen. So we can talk a little bit about that. We can talk about the basketball games from over the weekend. Clemson gets a last-second three-pointer from Nick Honor to take down Georgia Tech. South Carolina falls flat against Ole Miss. Yeah. We can talk about that as well. Or we can talk about the main thing I had today, which was the other stuff with Josh Heupel in Tennessee. And my big question for folks is who's going to be at that job longer? Meaning, do you think that Heupel will last longer at Tennessee than Malzahn lasts at UCF? Malzahn's already proven. I firmly believe, and I haven't even looked at UCF, they will win the American this year. Dead set on that. They'll definitely be in the upper half of it as far as 1-2 is what I mean by that. Fireball says, Auburn fans are so happy to hire Brian Harsin. Ask him, and he sucks. That says all you need to know about Malzahn. Well, Auburn fans don't respect numbers. They don't respect going 26 games over 500. They don't respect winning an SEC title. They don't respect going 3-5 against Papa Saban. Maybe the problem, once again, is that Auburn fans just don't really know what good is. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. And Harsin may end up doing great stuff at Auburn. I don't know. He did great stuff at Boise State out there on the blue turf, man. The Smurf turf doing their thing. It's not really the same as playing, in the SEC West. I mean, you get jacked up for that game against Wyoming. I understand that, but hey, I've got to play Alabama and LSU and Texas A&M and Georgia. Oof. Makes Auburn one of the toughest jobs in the country, man. And that's why I think you need to you give your coach, who's done as well as Malzahn did, got to give him a little bit of space. They didn't do that. Quick break. When we come back, the Deshaun Watson to Dallas rumors continue. I'll explain in a moment. You're listening to The Rundown. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. You are absolutely right. Who gets SEC dog's hilarious. Hold on, let me go grab this. I'll be right back. Welcome back to The Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining us today on President's Day. Yes, sir. Everyone loves President's Day. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832 is the number to call if you'd like to join us here on The Rundown this afternoon. I posted something on my blog page where Stephen A. Smith said that the Dallas Cowboys should make the move and get Deshaun Watson. And everybody was like, oh, unless you're a Dallas Cowboys fan. Dallas Cowboys fans were absolutely loving that, right? Then we come into it with someone else today. Former NFL GM Mike Tannenbaum was on ESPN's Get Up this morning, and he thinks that the Cowboys should sign Dak Prescott and do something interesting. Check this out.
They could get him signed and they could trade him straight up for Deshaun Watson. It's player for player, and it solves one problem for one team and another for Dallas. And when you think about where we are, Jerry Jones has made a $40 to $50 million mistake, Greeny. 2 years ago, it would have been about $32 to $33 million a year for Dak Prescott. Now that number is going to be closer to $40 million. On 5 or 6 years, that's about a $50 million mistake. Kimberly's right. Kirk Cousins is a great example. Dak's going to do even better. So one way for Jerry Jones, who's in a very unique position of not having leverage, trade him for Deshaun Watson, get a player who's slightly better under contract for 5 years.
Okay, that on the surface, that sounds like, all right, maybe that is something that could help him out. That obviously would help out Dallas a lot. But people seem to forget Dak Prescott had a leg injury that was horrific. And he needs to figure out they need to figure out if he's going to be able to go out there and do Dak Prescott type things again. You can make the argument. I was never really the biggest Dak Prescott guy, but he did put up some big numbers. A lot of that had to do with the Dallas Cowboys had a great offensive line too. Those guys seem to get left out a little bit. But the reality is that I don't think Houston would do that because you don't know what you've got with Prescott. But when you step out of the box for a second, it makes a lot of sense. Deshaun Watson doesn't want to be with the Houston Texans anymore. There's rumors that he may retire from football before he plays with the Houston Texans again. I didn't start those rumors. I've just read them online. Here's the big thing with that, though. If they know he's going to sit out, they need to come off their horse and say, you know what? We're going to have to make a move here. Now, I'm sure there's owners across the board that are saying, you know what? They're pressuring the Houston organization, telling them, don't do it, because that's going to set a precedent where if X, Y, and Z doesn't happen, certain players may leave. And we may lose our franchise's best player simply because they don't want to be here anymore. But in the end, it's going to come back to you may lose them anyway. And if they could work that deal out where they could get Prescott for Deshaun Watson, if Prescott checks out, obviously, in the end, it may not be that bad of a deal. May not be that bad of a deal at all. Now, would Watson want to go to Dallas? We don't know. We've heard rumors that he likes Miami. There was a picture of him down in Miami the other day where he had dinner with Christian Wilkins and all those guys. Maybe they're talking behind the scenes a little bit. Yo, we played together at Clemson. We could have the Clemson feel down here in Miami. There's been rumors that he likes New York. He may end up having to go somewhere he doesn't want to go if it really is, I don't want to play for the Houston Texans. We'll take calls this afternoon on that at 803-978-1832. Brandon says they've got Tua in Miami. Yes, they do. But remember, this is a Tua Tagovailoa that they had to take out in mid-season, basically, and put in Fitzmagic, I think was the name for Ryan Fitzpatrick. I don't think they're completely sold on him anyway. Some comments today, folks, going back to the situation with UCF hiring Gus Malzahn. Fireball says Josh Heupel was 22-4 this past year, and now 28-8 with 7 out of the 8 losses by a combined 19 points. Look, he has that resume where he has the potential to be good, but I hold in my hand the resume of someone who was in the SEC, coached against Nick Saban, and did pretty good. You can have the potential to be good, or you can be good, which is what Gus Malzahn was. And that's what UCF got. And in the end, 5 years from now, he'll still be coaching at UCF, in my opinion. And Josh Heupel is probably going to be coaching somewhere else. 803-978-1832. 803-978-1832 is the number to call if you want to talk about that. If you want to talk about Deshaun Watson, if you want to talk about the basketball games from the weekend, we can get into that as well. We're getting to a point now where we're not that far from Selection Sunday. I've put this out for a bit now. I think we're going to get to a point where conference championship games are going to be conference championship tournaments are going to be out of the mix. I think that's going to happen. One other comment. Tom says he likes Beamer over Gus Malzahn. Hey, you know what? We don't really know much about what Shane Beamer is going to do yet because they haven't taken the field, but you know, he is considered an up and coming coach. We'll have to figure that out. first head coaching job. You can't really judge him. He hasn't done anything yet. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832 is the number to call. If you'd like to join us here on The Rundown this afternoon on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Around the world on the iHeartRadio app. Brandon online says, Beamer will never lose to Heupel. Fireval says, Frank Beamer was a legend. His son could be great. Who do you feel more confident in, Josh Heupel or Shane Beamer? Something to think about there too. With where Beamer's coach, where Shane Beamer's coach, man, he's been all over the place. You think about all the spots that he's coached, Oklahoma, Georgia. I mean, he's been all over the place. So he kind of knows the law of the land a little bit, especially in the SEC. It's going to be interesting to see how you've got basically, and I think the coach at Vanderbilt, you can throw him into the mix too, but you got 3 young coaches that are going to be trying to nip people's legs there. And I think that the SEC East is going to be really interesting. You know, you've got Kirby Smart up top, Dan Mullen, who I don't think is going to be at Florida very much longer. And then after that, you've got, basically young coaches. Coach Drinkowich is a guy, he's 40-something. So lots of youth in the SEC East. Who's going to make their stamp first from that set of youthful coaches? Coach Drinkowitz put his stamp on that very early with a 5-5 season last year, where someone on this show said they may not win a game. Yeah, that would be me. I didn't think Mizzou would win a game this year. And what happened? Go out and win 5 games. But lots of young coaches in that SEC East. It's going to be really interesting. And you know what? The SEC West 5 years from now could be they could be flipping the table. You know, Nick Saban can't coach forever. I mean, if so, he's going to win forever. Betting against Nick Saban means you're a broke individual. But I'm just saying, Father Time's eventually going to win out. Nick Saban's going to have to retire eventually, right? 5 years down the line, you could end up with a lot of young coaches in the SEC West. SEC Dog says he likes the SEC hire. Give that guy a chance and see what he can do. Yeah, he may come in and light things on fire. You never know. And I think that's what people want with the Tennessee job with Josh Heupel too. The difference is that Heupel's going to be facing supposedly some violations, and how you can remedy yourself from that and make yourself valid in the SEC East. That's going to be tough. All right, we're taking your calls this afternoon. 803-978-1832. 803-978-1832 is the number to call. Join us here on The Rundown right here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. I don't think Beamer was a bad hire. It was an unproven hire. You know, I don't think it was a bad hire, though. That's the line of the day. See, SEC Dog, you and I have had words with each other, but you're not exactly an idiot. I'm very proud of you. Muschamp is an absolute loser, man. I mean, from the rip, you knew he was going to be terrible. Terrible. So, of all of the hires, I like Drinkowitz the best up at Mizzou. I think Drinkowitz is going to be great. But Shane Beamer's right there, man. I guess that's like a backhanded compliment. Sorry about that. You put out good stuff, man. Then you say things just to troll, and I'm like, man, how could he possibly be this stupid? And then you come out with something like that. I mean, it's just, eh. We got to find Jackpot a Clemson t-shirt to wear September 4th. Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining us today. As we get you set up for the rest of President's Day, shout out to the folks watching on YouTube and Facebook. We appreciate you guys. Lots of comments about Will Muschamp over there. Brandon says Muschamp is a proven loser. I never see him getting another Power 5 job again. I'm surprised they let him in the building at Georgia. I'm just saying. With the stench of Will Muschamp, and I know that people are going to defend him and, oh, he did this good and he did that good. Yeah, but you know what? He said and did a lot of silly things too. Andrew says some poor souls will eventually hire Muschamp. The guy knows how to sell himself, that's for sure. And you know what? That's a lot with coaching. When we met, Lawton Swan and I we didn't get to really hang out with him, but we were on Radio Row when Bobby Petrino came through when he was at Louisville. And he seemed like he was the kind of guy that would sell you an SUV with 200,000 miles on it, but have you thinking that it's going to be great. Oh, it's got 200,000 miles on it. You're going to pay book value for it, plus, a little bit more, but it's going to be great because I'm telling you it's going to be great. That's the vibe that I got from Bobby Petrino. And maybe that's the way Will Muschamp is with certain people. He seems to be able to get himself a job easily. Now, of course, he's got connections too. So there's that. If you want to respond to what we were talking about today, the young SEC West coaches, we should all stack them up like the movie poster from Young Guns with Emilio Estevez and all those guys. Just have all of them together as the coalition from the East that's trying to slay the old dog, which is Alabama in the West. that would be funny. I might put my Photoshop skills to work on that and see if I can make that happen. But you've got a lot of good young coaches there in the SEC East. It's going to be interesting to see which team puts their foot down and starts moving up is basically the way to go with it. 803-978-1832. You can tell us who you think has the better shot. I mentioned before, I think I like Eli Drinkowitz at Mizzou. And we haven't seen what Shane Beamer can do, but just as far as winning the world with the social media and everything else, and just the vibe for South Carolina, I think it's much better than it was. And then, of course, you've got the stuff with Tennessee, which they're dealing with the sanctions. The new coach at Vanderbilt, Clark, was it Clark Lee, I believe his name is? I'm incorrect on that. Someone let me know. But all kinds of young coaches there in the SEC East. Should be interesting, to say the least. The AP Top 25 came out today for basketball, and I wanted to I mentioned this for just a second. Gonzaga, Baylor, Michigan, Ohio State, Illinois, Houston, Virginia, Alabama, Oklahoma, and Villanova. That's your top 10. Generally, and I'm not somebody that is like that likes to ride conference coattails, but the reality is that a lot of this quote unquote blue bloods just aren't there. North Carolina is not ranked. Duke is not ranked. In the SEC, Kentucky is not ranked. Who are they replaced with? Arkansas, who's playing some pretty good basketball right now. Mizzou, even though they've dropped 2 straight. Tennessee's up there. Kansas moved their way back into the top 25 at number 23 after breaking their streak. The sad thing is normally, like right now, I've been every year. I'm very proud of how I put my bracket together. I normally get, a good portion of my bracket correct. But with this season, with the way that COVID has kind of stopped programs, I honestly don't know which way to go. I mean, you can tell me, yes, Gonzaga is 20-0 and they're great. But you know what? How many people watch West Coast Conference basketball? It's not like they're playing. I don't know how tough their schedule is. And if going 20-0 is in, that's great, but I don't know, man. I mean, playing Pepperdine it seems like every time I see Gonzaga, they're playing Pepperdine. I don't know. Maybe that's just, I just catch them on that point. I don't know. Baylor's very interesting at 17-0. Michigan at 14-1. Ohio State at 17-4. You know, we've got some Big Ten teams there. Illinois is right there in the mix as well. Alabama, though, is one of the more interesting ones at number 8. SEC Dog says, do you know Kentucky is bad when UGA beat them at Rupp Arena several weeks ago? Yeah. They're pretty bad. Pretty bad. 803-978-1832. 803-978-1832. I mean, I'm trying hard to figure out, you know, who I put as my number one overall team here. I mean, I guess you got to look at Michigan. I do think that Alabama is one of the more interesting teams, though, because they can shoot the three. They throw the ball away a lot, though, an absolute lot. And they have the capability to get down by a lot, but they also have the capability to blitz you at the beginning of a game, and they could be up 20-0 in a matter of seconds. I'm not completely sold on them simply because I think they have issues with rebounding the ball, but a lot of that's because they jack so many threes. So they should be an interesting team to watch. But to see how that shakes out. Some of the other teams that I looked at, I like Mizzou a good bit. And I've always had the adage that in the NCAA tournament, you do really well if you have a great backcourt and senior leadership. And I think that when you look at Mizzou, they've got the capability with that because they've got so many seniors. And I was saying that other day that Bama was the most overrated team in the country. Yes, I think they will get smacked in the tourney. I'm not backing off from that. I'm just saying that they're interesting in how many threes they shoot. And if they hit them, they could cause some damage. I still expect them to go out probably the first or the second round. I just think it's interesting they're ranked that high. I really do. I think Tennessee's a much better team than they are. But Mizzou is an interesting team. They don't really have the big man that can clog up the middle and do things like that, but they play defense. And they can they're pretty good on offense too. So Mizzou is interesting as a team that may be kind of overlooked a little bit, but not quite getting the respect they deserve, I think. Wisconsin's at 15-7. I think that they're an interesting team to look at too. They're at number 21. And some other teams that are out there kind of floating a little bit. Belmont, they're an interesting team if you watch some OVC stuff. Like I remember when my kids were babies, like I watched a lot of OVC games because they were on. I would DVR them and watch them late. And I got so big on that, man. I like the OVC. It's a run and gun type league. SEC Dog says Bama needed to do scoreboard versus UGA a while back. Yeah, they scored like 115 points. But if you look at the other end of it, they gave up I think it was close to 90. I mean, they're like the Phoenix Suns from a long time ago with when they had Steve Nash and Amari Stoudemire and all of that. Had all those guys. And they could, we're going to score 140 points. We're going to give up 125, though. Jordan says they hopes that Clemson stays unranked. They play better. Yeah, you can make that argument too, but Clemson's going to have to deal with something they've had to deal with before. Remember, Clemson was ranked 12th in the country and had a COVID pause. That's what they call it now. A COVID pause. And with that COVID pause, it ended up knocking them back to a reality a little bit. And you could say, well, they played Florida State, et cetera. I get that. But the pause seems to affect the Paul. There you go. 803-978-1832. If you want to tell me who you like, Fireball says that Baylor and the Zags are legit. Okay. I'm trying to fill out my bracket here, folks, which will be coming up here shortly. Selection Sunday is not that far off. It really isn't. All right, we'll take your calls when we come back. Final segment of the rundown coming up here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Andrew, I don't know who would hire that guy, man. No clue. I got to get a haircut. No clue who would hire that guy. Clemson plays defense, man. I think Clemson will be, they've got Amir Sims, who was a preseason all ACC player. I think they're going to be better next year without him. I'm serious. Not that he's a bad player. I just think that Brownell will go small. Holy crap, Brandon. I should boot you for that comment. Gamecocks will be back soon. You're not going to keep them up. Oh, goodness. Yes, Nick Honor's great. Gamecock fans, we're going to have on Joe Healy from Baseball America. I wonder how Gamecock fans are looking at Mark Kingston, because he's one of those coaches that's like an analytics coach. He believes in the numbers. So I don't know how much the Gamecock fan base is going to deal with all that. We shall see. Looking forward to talking to Joe Healy about that. Hold on a minute. Randall, what's up? What's your first name? Hold on, buddy. We're coming back from break here in just a second. I'll put you right on, okay? What did you want to talk about? Yeah, are you talking about Tennessee? I'm gonna ask Joe Healy about Tennessee, because he follows all those guys, man. I was kind of shocked that Clemson wasn't ranked. I know you guys are gonna say I'm an apologist. I know. Welcome back to the rundown. 803-978-1832. Out to the phones we go. Andrew, welcome into the program.
Thank you, sir. How you doing?
Good, man. How are you today?
I can't complain. I've been following you and Kale for the past couple of weeks, and I'm enjoying it a lot. I just wanted to reach out. There's a lot going on with the Gamecock program. Right. I myself went there from 2010 to 2014, and I think there's a lot of uncertainty with Beamer, obviously, but there's something that was missing for 5 years under Muschamp, and I don't know if Muschamp was the main reason or if there's bigger problems at play, especially knowing that ever since Tanner took over the AD job, it just seems like the lack of vision and leadership, either there's been a lack of or it hasn't been channeled properly, because Don Staley, the best coach we have right now, she wasn't hired. She was hired by Eric Hammond. And I'm not trying to put, all the blame on Tanner. The guy will be forever loved by all Gamecock Nation for what he did with our baseball program. But there's just something that's just been missing really badly over the last 5 years. And it almost felt like we were estranged from our loved ones under Muschamp with the football team. I don't know. It just seemed like things kind of crashed.
Do you think it was like a swagger? And what I mean by that is, the Gamecock defense, they, at one point when they had all of that talent with Swearinger and all those guys, yeah. I mean, they could walk with a step of pride. I mean, I know that sounds kind of silly, but you knew when you played South Carolina in that defense, you better have your ears pinned back, because they were going to beat you senseless.
And sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I agree with that completely. Look, when I was at Columbia, you couldn't go around Columbia and not feel jazzed about it all. I mean, it was just, there was a complete different spirit, different culture. We knew we were going to go and play hard. And, unfortunately, during that 4-year reign where we were, 95, 11-2, 3 season afterward, we had those stupid losses that cost us. But when we look into the grand scheme of it, there was a vision, there was leadership, there was something propelling the entire community to get around the program. And one of the most horrible things of it all was watching our baseball team just, I won't say disintegrate, but after, Tanner became AD, Chad Holbrook took over. And I mean, he was given the keys of the car. This was supposed to be a continuation of what was our crown jewel of a program. So I don't know. I'm not completely sold on Mark Kingston. I honestly, I know a little bit about the guy, but the fact that we're watching a perennial program, I struggle to an extent. I mean, I just don't want to I don't want to be back into a place if we're celebrating a win of a Presbyterian. It's kind of like last year in football, we were celebrating the win of a Vandy. Like, no. Those are games that you win.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. And it seems like we need to give Kingston more time. The thing and it's not that I have anything against Coach Kingston, but I'm an old school baseball type guy. I agree that analytics should be a part of what you do, but I also think that coaches should have it in their gut of this guy can do this or this guy can do that. And I'm not going to look at some computer all the time and say, okay, I have to go with this because that's what the computer says. It's a game with guys and human beings. You can use that as an example, but I get tired of the analytical folks. So that's just me.
No, I completely, I agree with that a lot. I mean, again, I think we were missing analytics and we were also just missing straight up leadership from Muschamp. And I know I've been seeing here in the comments, I keep saying that Muschamp can probably find another job in the Power 5 just because of the simple fact, look, some days you feel like a nut, sometimes you are one. That guy can probably sell himself into another job. I won't say in the SEC, but at the end of the day, the guy's just got the ability to sell, and whether or not it's for the better or for the worse. But we saw what he did with us. We saw how alienated the program was, and it was just, I didn't like how close he was to Tanner. I don't like how Tanner protected him. It's like, he's not getting results, and we're getting the crap beat out of us by programs that we should be playing better against, especially the year where we beat, in 2019, we beat Georgia, but yet we lose to App State, North Carolina, and Tennessee, games we should have won. And I would have, and you said this a couple of days ago, I would have traded that, or excuse me, I think Kel said it, I would have traded the win against Georgia to be bowl eligible.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense too with all that. You're throwing darts, my friend. I wish I could disagree with you so we could have some back and forth, but what you're saying makes sense. It really does.
And I appreciate letting me be on the talk show. I've been watching you guys for a while, and I don't live in South Carolina anymore. I live in Chicago, but
okay.
But I'm originally from Charleston, and went to Carolina, and it was just a different atmosphere all around. And I'm sure there are people on this feed that remember that as well.
Are you dealing with snow up there, sir? Do you wish that you could be back on the horseshoe right now?
Oh, it's it's cold as hell. But you know what, though? There's something special about being in Columbia on game day. It's hotter than hell, but at the same time, you're there with 80,000 your good friends. You're all dressed up, and they bring out the white towels and they play Sandstorm. And it's just, that's what I think Beamer, out of all candidates to the table, is bringing back, is a sense of, this is a guy that was there with the mojo. He knows what we need. Look, many people are crapping on him because the fact that he ain't been a head coach anywhere. But at the same time, look, the guy's coached under so many good coaches.
That's
and
true.
Look, I hate using the Dabo analogy, but Dabo took over a faltering program from Tommy Bowden. And, you know what I'm saying? I think it comes down to the fact of, well, our recruiting class is not good this year. Okay, whatever. But we got talent on the team that needs to be developed. And there's a lot more to extract from those kids. We got a running game coming back. I think Doty can step up to the plate. I think overall we are in a position to at least get 6 wins. If we can do that, then build on that. Look, at the end of the day, I'm going to be happy with 8 wins or 9 wins a year. I just know that's realistic for a program like us who's not been to the top many times.
Right.
But it's at the same time, for everybody out there is a Gamecock. It's a unique culture. It's a fun culture. There's nobody out there like us. And so I repeat what Josh Pate said. Now is the time that we circle the wagon and we dial out the people that are hating on it. It is what it is. And time will tell whether or not it's the right move. And, I'm behind the guy 110%.
Well, stay warm up there in Chicago, man. You're always welcome here on the show.
Hey, thanks, Rob.
Appreciate it, buddy. All right. So, yeah, he mentioned the App State loss. You know, one of the things I remember from that App State game, and I don't know if I've still got it or not, but Coach Drinkowitz from that game. Here we go. I've got this clip from Coach Drinkowitz. And listen to this comment. And I think this is one of the comments that ended up getting him the job at Mizzou. See if I can get it going here. As I've got my clip here. Hold on, please. There we go. All right, so check out this clip from Coach Drinkowitz. Listen to this. This is after the win over South Carolina.
Proud of our football team for a team win. Just great effort in all 3 phases to do exactly what we've coached them to do.
Right. And then he said on his radio show the next day, he said, can you imagine what I could do if I had the money that Will Muschamp had at South Carolina? We went in there and beat them. They have like 3 times the funding that we have. Basically laughing at the South Carolina program. And that's something where I think he took that and Mizzou looked at that and they were like, hey, that's great. Question is, can Shane Beamer do the same thing? We're going to have to find out. Don't forget, let's see here. Wednesday on the program, Kevin Fitzgerald. He's going to talk some hoops with us. Thursday on the program, as we get closer to baseball season, Joe Healy from Baseball America joins us. We'll talk about the Gamecocks, the Tigers, and how, it's an all SEC, ACC show, man. That's pretty much what it is in college baseball. We'll get into that with the writer from Baseball America on Thursday. I appreciate you guys checking out the show, man. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. We will be back at it tomorrow here on The Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. SEC dog. Yeah. You guys are hilarious over there. We'll be back at it tomorrow, gentlemen. Appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome over there. Thanks for joining me every day. It makes the job more fun with some interaction over there. We'll talk to you tomorrow.